Welcoming in, glad to have you here, Teresa Lusk, life coach, host and producer of the Teresa Lusk Show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, Stacy. It's a great pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad. I mean, the subject matter is very difficult, but I feel like you being here will really help us to unpack some techniques, strategies, anything that you can offer because of this. It's a new survey, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, the latest edition, I should say, is out. And it highlights a post-pandemic teen mental health crisis. Can you tell us what's going on here?
Yeah, Stacy. So actually what's happened is that, you know, before COVID, our teenagers, our younger kids, they were already dealing with a lot of mental health issues that just weren't being looked at. I think there was a lot of distraction in the home. There was a lot of too much to keep up with when you deal with technology, et cetera. So then you bring in COVID and you totally isolate these kids. You know, they're forced to be at home. They're forced to be away from their social groups. And, you know, they watch a lot of the things that are going on at home, which is concerning as well because there was a lot of increase of things such as, you know, during COVID, there was an increase in alcohol use and abuse and things of that nature. So now you have the post-COVID result, and you take what was already broken in these younger kids, and it just magnified. And so now we're seeing the post-COVID trauma really is what we're seeing with these younger kids. Again, there were already some things going on. You then take these kids, you isolate them, and we see the magnification of the isolation, of the loneliness, of the fear, and all of those other things combined.
Wow. So in the Youth Risk Behavior Survey is a data summary and trends report that is issued by the CDC. And so a lot of parents, you know, there's so much going on right now. The month of February, the month of March, it's like the worst 2 months in the entire school year because this is where your energy tends to wane and the activities tend to pick up. So I don't know that a lot of parents who, you know, if they're not kind of politically motivated or that type of thing, are paying attention to this new survey, unless maybe they had pediatric visits and, you know, their child's pediatrician mentioned it. So what do you recommend as a way of getting this information out? I mean, obviously we're talking about it on the show, but what do you recommend to parents and, you know, in light of the survey and what it shows?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it's wonderful that you're giving it light because it's people like you who will help parents become aware, because I think one of the misconceptions, Stacy, is that just because you have a child who looks healthy or is seemingly emotionally healthy, doing fine, kids are really good about saying, I'm okay, I'm all right. You know, you ask them the yes or no question, they're going to answer just like that. So parents are walking oftentimes unaware. And the best thing that we can do is, you know, have people like you who are getting this information out there and becoming aware that just because you have had a child who is seemingly healthy, happy, et cetera, does not mean that they are exempt. There are a lot of kids out there who are great kids, but sometimes because of the way kids deal with things, they're resilient. They're really good about hiding certain things from parents. And so we want to become aware. One of the things that you could do as a parent also is what are some things affecting teens in 2023, 2022, and just kind of pay attention to that. Social media distracts families a lot, parents a lot, students a lot, so it's easy to get lost in the day-to-day and lose sight of what are some things that are really there. You know, there will eventually be signs that your child might be dealing with things, but one is to become aware. Number two is to become empowered with knowledge and go, okay, this is actually real. This is happening. 4 out of 10 teenagers suffer with depression and anxiety, things of that nature, that, you know, depressive feelings. So it can be in your home. Now, obviously, we're not trying to cause a fear and a scare to parents, but we do want to be aware. I have 3 kids. And they're mostly grown, but when they were younger, even growing up in homes where mom and dad were both involved, we thought we were, you know, doing our best, et cetera. Our kids still dealt with things.
Yeah, they did. And so there was much more opportunity when, so before social media, the time spent in the minivan or the car or wherever, it was either the radio or talking, right? Now everyone's in their phone. There's such a disconnect even around the table when you're at a restaurant or all these opportunities where parents used to kind of just plug into their kid, you crack a joke or something, and then before you know it, you're off to the races, you're having a discussion with your child. And those opportunities seem to have dried up. And if parents aren't really paying attention, you could be missing some signs and symptoms. So what should parents be looking for if they might suspect, my child may be falling into one of these categories of having, some bouts of sadness or what have you? What should they look for?
Well, number one, with teenagers, often what happens is we often are looking for the tears and things of that nature, but actually teens, they often express depression through moodiness, anger, moodiness, things that we may not be expecting. So we may just think, well, they're just in a bad mood. But actually that may be a sign that there's some depression going on. So that's one sign. Definitely isolation. Sometimes we think that it's normal for our child to just go and isolate and they just want to be in their room. And part of that is true. When they're growing up, their most important group of people are usually their friends, not their parents, not the family, et cetera. So to some degree it's healthy, but then there are kids who are just completely isolated. They come home, they sleep from the time they get home from school, they don't wake up till really late. Again, there are some things that are normal. If the child is growing, et cetera, they're going to be tired. But we do have to pay attention that they're not oversleeping, that they're not just isolating, that the things they used to want to do, like go to the park and play basketball with a friend, et cetera, that those things might be a sign. So definitely pay attention. And you said something that's really good, and it's actually one of the things that I recommend is that we need to get them to put the phones away. Sometimes the parents are afraid to say put the phones away because they might get upset, this, that, and the other. But the truth is that part of the reason that some of these things often can be triggered with our children for the depression is that there's a disconnect because everybody's comfortable with their phones. We all, we have a long day, we're tired, parents are tired, kids are tired, the things everybody goes through throughout the day. But Stacy, honestly, there has to be a fight in the parent to say, I'm going to stay connected with my child, I'm going to interact with them. And sometimes that can be a battle because kids will resist it to a major level. If you hang with it for a while and just insist on it for a good while, especially a little bit, some parents, they give up, they're like, oh, this is not changing. If you stick with it long enough, it will shift. It will shift. So it's important to stay connected with your children.
Yeah, and I love that you're saying don't give up if it doesn't seem like you're making progress. So let's compare it to something else that's extraordinarily frustrating, but at the end, if you keep going, you get results, and that's weight loss. You know how it is. You're working out for a few months before anyone notices that you've lost 10, 12, 15 pounds. In fact, most people don't notice you've lost weight until you lose 30 pounds. So
right.
You have to keep going. If you want compliments, you just have to keep on going. And by the time everyone catches up with you, you're at your goal weight. You're like, man, I've been skinny for at least 60 days now, and you're just noticing? Wow. So this is the same concept with our kids. They may not be demonstrating improved mood, but the extra attention is never wasted.
Absolutely, and I think sometimes we take for granted. I don't know that we truly own how much authority we have over our children. God gave us the authority over our children to look out for them, protect them, pray for them, et cetera, direct them. And so it is our job to do that, and that means sometimes you cut off the phone at a certain time and you say, this is family time. And the stronger-willed children are going to fight you the most. You will think that, oh, I'll never get them. They'll never give in. Yes, they will. They will just take a little longer than the child that's a little more submissive. But you're not doing it to hurt them or make their life miserable. You're doing it to reposition what your child's life should look like, what a healthy home should look like. And so that's very, very important.
So I think, if anything, that is just, it has to be stressed again and again and again. And There's so many. Like, we can never see all of the cat videos. I can never watch all of the before and after decoration, people. And she redid her bathroom for the third time. She's repainting the green one more time. I'll never watch all those. I can watch some of them, but the time that I might, 30 minutes, I put that down and just, plug into my teenager or ask some questions because later on, what parents forget, because the teenagers are just like us. It's later on, and as they're falling off to sleep, that they remember, oh, my mom asked me all those questions about my, so-and-so. And then they think, oh, she's really interested in that. And then they get a little warm and fuzzy off of that. Because they're like, well, it looks like she's still obsessed with me, so I'm still the favorite kid or whatever. But if they're thinking, wow, she sure did ask a lot of questions about so-and-so, that means they noticed you paid attention to them, and we all like that. I mean, teenagers are not another species. They like to be paid attention to. Even if they're kind of resisting a little bit, they enjoy knowing that they are cared about and thought of. And I think some of those simpler things kind of escape us because we think, oh, no, teen mental health crisis, what can I do? And you're wanting to go online and find a guide where you have to do 20 steps when really it's just, pay a little more attention, make some more eye contact, maybe give an unrequited hug. You're not getting hugged back, but you just hug anyway. Something along those lines. These are simple solutions that we can launch into.
Absolutely, Stacy. It's very important that we also remember that our kids, they're facing a whole nother level of darkness and battles that we did not go through. So they're in this environment all day long, and then they come home and they're having to deal with the aftermath of that. They feel it emotionally, spiritually, physically. They are feeling all of these things and don't necessarily realize it. And so as parents, it is, again, if we just become aware, if we do keep loving on them, like you said, eventually that will break. Something wonderful can happen, but definitely, and talk about it with other parents. So if you are friends with your child's friends, parents, talk about it, mention it. Hey, did you hear about the study? And I don't like to cause fear in people. I just don't think it's healthy. I just want to inform people so that you can be aware. And how we deliver also is very important. How do you deliver a study, that says, hey, 4 in 10 kids, et cetera? But it's to empower families. It's to empower the kids. It's so that we can learn how to do this, sharing the testimonies about, hey, I did this with my child, it's working. Also, paying attention to their social media, grabbing a hold of it. These kids, they have so many texting codes. They text in codes, and I don't know if you've looked over these. You just have to do research on all the different codes that these kids use, the way that they, use, KYS.
Mm-hmm.
For kill yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and so they have a few pages I found, and if you want to find it faster, you can go to Pinterest and type in text codes, and all kinds of images will come up, and you can just print that image out and then review it at night before you go to bed, so you can start to learn what they mean. And so if you're concerned, you really are going to be over your kid's shoulder, but you might not need to go there. You just might need to re-engage with your teenager. Life is busy. It's super fast. Our kids do not have the same experience that we had when we were, teenagers, and we thought it was just hell. And now, looking at what these kids have to deal with, I'm like, man, I had a lollipop thing going on.
Oh, yeah.
It was so easy compared to this. Anything else that you'd like to add for our parents or grandparents or interested family members who are near these teenagers? Anything else you would tell them to do or recommend or resources, anything?
Sure. Just be encouraged. I want them to be encouraged that sometimes even when you are a really involved parent, things can still slip through the cracks. I think there's sometimes parents go through guilt because when they deal with their child who they realize, oh, my goodness, my child's been depressed. And they go, I could have done something different. A lot of times you do everything you know how to do. You do your best, and things still fall through the cracks. So if you're listening and you're a parent, just remember that you can't keep everything 100% from happening. So stay aware, stay connected, put down some expectations to help your child re-engage, and don't be afraid to stand until you see your child re-engaging. And that has to be a lifestyle, Stacy. It's really a lifestyle, and if you learn how to build the expectation in the home, it'll set you up for success in the future.
so good. Thank you so much for coming on. And I mean, it's a tough topic, but I really feel encouraged, and I think parents can take a lot away from this. Your website is teresalusk.com. It's TeresaLusk.com. And you have so many resources here. It's cool stuff here. I mean, get over here and check it out, you guys. You will want to be on her website and get, and she has even events coming up. She has counseling. She speaks. She goes all over speaking. You got to get over here to this website. It's teresalusk.com. You can follow her at Teresa G. Lusk on Twitter. Teresa, thanks. I hope we can speak again soon.
Thank you so much.